And welcome again to another Nothing Like a Good Book, episode 102. We're getting there. Thank you for your emails. Feedback is fantastic. Please subscribe, as they say, and, ring the bell and all that jazz. The show is dedicated to authors, up-and-coming authors, experienced authors, doesn't matter. We're about discovering what your book is about, to promote your book for you, and, help you to sell your book. For some people, they don't care about any sales. They've always wanted to write a book. Just get it out there, right? Got a message to tell. For others, I got to sell enough of them to at least get all my money back that I've been paying people to get me published and done and this and that. Yeah, I know. I was at a friend's place the other day and his garage was full of books, believe me. So let's hope you can sell a few. Each one is different. Each one is unique in their own way. And now I'm going to introduce you to a brand new author. Out of the rubble of the matrix disorder and all foul practice comes truth and justice. Boy, now this book looks at the struggle for spiritual freedom against societal control systems. It shows how the subconscious mind controls our lives and it shapes our decisions and perceptions, often without us realizing it. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome along Mr. Charles Smith. G'day, Charles. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you, Mark?
Good. Your book, pretty heavy, big message. The author examines astrology, ancient wisdom, astrotheology. You suggest that these elements show hidden forces that have shaped human history, and these include religious institutions, government systems, and often you go on to say that they've suppressed deeper knowledge to maintain control, right?
Right. Oh, well, because when you have control, you do not want to lose it. And that's their goal from the very start. And we're calling them the Matrix.
Okay, so in effect, you're asking the readers now to rethink how they see themselves, the universe, and their role. And it urges people to rise to what? Higher frequencies and spiritual truths. This call really encourages individuals to break free from societal conditioning, as you say. Now, the author, you guide readers to discover themselves, heal, and reclaim their power. And they use these spiritual practices and mindful intent to achieve this. All right, tell us all about it. How do they go about that, my friend?
I'd like to start out explaining how I got started to write the book.
Okay, great.
And that
this is
happened
right here in front of us. Out of the rubble, matrix disorder.
Right. It happened about the time that COVID came out. I had always been wanting to write a book about the court, the legal court system, and how they it's all fraud, and they put people in prison, and they trick everyone. And so I was trying to and I was wanting to do this, but I kept procrastinating it until the COVID came out. And when the COVID came out, I remembered that I had read a book called The Invisible Rainbow, explained how 1/3 of the people in this world died to the Spanish flu. But it turned out that it was the new invention of the telegraph system, putting jagged frequencies out into the atmosphere. People had wires strung from housetop to housetop so they could speak to each other instantly. Right. 1/3 of them, their cells were poisoned and they died. And our government has known that ever since that flu. They called it the Spanish flu. They said it was a virus. And what I'm trying to say is the people need to know there is no such thing as a virus. It was frequency. Our problem is frequency, and it's coming up a little bit later with 5G. Mm-hmm. So whenever I found that during the COVID, I found that a doctor in Singapore did something against the World Health Organization. They said no one should do an autopsy on anyone who dies from the COVID. Well, he did. And he found that it was a lot of bacteria in his body that had got somehow infected, and it had the symptoms of COVID. So he went on ahead and he started giving people aspirin and blood thinners in the hospital, and thousands of people went home in 2 weeks. Well, there is no COVID. That's what I wanted everyone to know. And it's frequency. We are energy, and we depend on frequencies, and the higher our frequencies are, like you just mentioned, the better off we are, and we have more ability to understand things. So when 5G comes up, which it's a directional weapon, and they can hit us with 5G, and the symptoms are the same as COVID, and they'll tell us it's COVID, and they are able to population control this way. Wars are population control. So the next thing that I wanted to talk about is how the Matrix, how they began. Back in Egypt, they were the liberals, and we have liberals here. They were liberals in Egypt, and they started banning spiritual history, like they ban history here. And they took many books out of circulation, and the people there hid the books. We're just now finding them buried in the sand in deserts. So that's what they've done, and they've got to keep us away from our history. Since they took away all spirituality and all people were spiritual, they knew everything about themselves and the cosmos, and there was no books written about it. The next thing was they wanted to bring themselves in between us and a higher power, which is the universal power, which we're involved with. But so what they did was they instituted what is called a doctrine. Their doctrine was called the Trinity Doctrine. And they created that in Rome. Before they created it in Rome, they were in Mesopotamia. They tried to sell this doctrine, and the people there run them out. And so they went to Rome, where the Constantine had the armies, and they got with Constantine, and they had what they needed now to control the world, and that was their plan. So they got this out in the area around Rome, and many people, they called themselves Christians because the fluid in their spinal column they called Christ, and that's why they called themselves that. But they were not going to adhere to the Trinity doctrine, a religion that has power and fear, because they had hell and heaven. They had one life, and you were going to go one way or the other, and that was their doctrine. And that got everyone afraid, and that went on from there. Then they had their church. They had two men break away from the church, and they ended up, the two churches that broke away ended up as 30,000 churches overall. What they wanted to do was separate people so they couldn't come together and understand what's going on. So everybody goes to their own little congregation. They're all happy and safe, and they're praying to the God that they created.
So
now there are 37 scriptures. There are 37 scriptures that I'll read at the end if there's time, that say it is our conscience that convicts us or saves us. It isn't another person, Jesus, God, or anybody outside of us that saves us or convicts us. We convict ourselves. And in the spirit world, when you are convicted yourself, then you get karma. That's what they call justice. It's very strict, but it gives a lot of leniency. It's a lot different than our justice. And they then they have to have, everything has to be a fiction, because they can't control people with truth when everything they're doing is a lie. So everything has to be a fiction. So they had to create the globe. And that was Copernicus, Newton, Galileo, and Lemaitre, the guy who talked about the Big Bang Theory. They created the globe. And that took a long time to sell to the people. They complained about, well, how come the water doesn't sling off? And he says, well, he had to have Newton come up with a theory for gravity. Well, there is no gravity. Either you're buoyant or you're not buoyant in air that you're in, or the fluid, water, the fluid that you're in. So there's a lot of things that you're going to see that you're going to wonder about, but they're all proved in the book.
And this is what it's about. May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
You say it's a powerful and thought-provoking exploration of humanity's struggle to rise from corruption, because this is big with you, confusion, moral decay toward a new vision of truth, purpose, and divine justice. All right. Now, this is set against the backdrop of a world overshadowed by deception and disorder, and I agree with you with that. And you invite readers to reflect deeply on the spiritual, social, and ethical collapse shaping modern civilization. Heavy stuff, mate. It's all in the book. How long did it take you to write this? Tell me.
Oh, it took years. About since the COVID. Yep.
Okay. And you go on to say that through a blend of insight, philosophy, and moral conviction, you reveal that even in the chaos of falsehood and manipulation, the enduring light of truth can rebuild what has been lost. Explain what you mean by that.
We have to regain our identity. We are sovereign. And I'm about to get to that point, if you would allow me to get there from here.
You got it.
They decided that they wanted to control the world. They wanted to own everything. And so they came up with a story that we hear all the time. Ownership is 9/10 the person who holds it, and 1/10 the person who's registered it. So they had a registry in Rome, and everybody had to register their property, and they had to pay taxes because they registered their property. And we do the same thing now. Private property here is taxed.
Right.
And our leaders that came up with the Bill of Rights and the Constitution that says there will be no taxation without representation. They were Jesuits, and they knew that they were going to be the ones who represented us, and the taxes were going to go on. All they had to do is have us register our car, our home, and anything else that we register. Their definition for register is to turn something that's private into public so they can tax us. That's why there's so much homelessness going on around the world right now. And there are a lot of people who are next that realize that they can't get your money. You just don't go to their court. It's a maritime court. They have no venue on this land. So the land and the souls were going to be controlled by the Pope. And that was going to be by the Jesuits. I have their vow. I think if we have enough time, I'll read their vow to you, how they're going to return all ownership of our soul, of our property, land, the whole earth to the Pope. Now,
you've
up
got
to
15
date
minutes
from those times, we found a computer that had their plan to control us economically. We didn't have an economy. What they wanted was an economy that is controllable. And so there's a plan they called it the Silent Weapons for Secret Wars. And we're in the middle of a war with them. And Rothschild, at the end, you heard his name with the Illuminati. He said at the end of the plan, he says, we're going to be able to control everything the way we want until the people discover their true identity and their power. And our true identity is we're spiritual, we have power, we're sovereign. Therefore, no one can have power over a sovereign person, even another sovereign person, not his church, or not his company, or not his law system. So they used, in order to get us to be involved in an economy that they had that's controllable, they used avarice. That word is in the Bible, and it means to have more than you need. And the people were always, like the Mayans, always scavenged for their food. And they talked them into having more than they needed. And that turned in that they went against James, the 3:16 in the Bible, that said, where there is bitter envy and selfish ambition, there's disorder in all foul practice. And that's the chaos we're talking about. They created us storing away more than we need and worrying about someone stealing it. And so we have now we have competition. We have people afraid of other people. And we had the Mayans originally had a place to live. They were living on the land. They had abundance. We are now creating that abundance, but we're doing it through commerce, and we're spending ourselves as jobs. And then when we create that abundance, we got to turn around and buy it from ourselves. And then we're taxed on top of that at the same time. Now, whenever he said this, when we find out that we're sovereign, it removes all authority from our maritime courts. All laws are fictional, they're statutes. And then we get a little bit into the what Bush did. He said that all the courts are going to be under Talmud law, and what happened is we have now all our governments are one government, and it's a totalitarian government, and we have a remedy in court, and because we have a bankruptcy since 1933, and whenever we go into a court system, we have a remedy. And whenever what we do is we establish our standing, and we say that to the judge that, first of all, whenever we're born, that's why we had the birth certificate. And if the government hasn't heard from you in 7 years stating that you're alive and well, then they start treating you as a trust. And so what they do then is they give us a trust account in Washington, and they give us a remedy. And that remedy is that they pay our fine from that trust account. But they never do that. They use that trust account for themselves. But what you're supposed to do is say, Your Honor, I'm a living person. My skin lives, my blood flows, and I ask for remedy. And if they deny you the remedy, they'll run out of the court and come back as a priest then. And then you, not a priest, but anyway, you become a seaman. And that's when you would tell them that you want remedy, and that remedy now is cure and maintenance. So I'm gonna continue on from here. That's where I found that people could get themselves out of court.
Now, you referred. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
What advice do you have for people then? You've written this.
Well, my advice is do not consent to anything. They have one spiritual law that they have to live under. They cannot harm us unless they have our consent. So, like right now, they're telling us the store shelves are going to be empty and it's going to last for decades. And every time they ever gave us a warning, it happens. They write The Simpsons. Okay. So that was one reason I started writing the book then, was because that's when they started the warnings. And so I'm trying to get people to put in community gardens so that we can live. So these are
community gardens
our trust
between the houses, you mean, that type of thing. That's what you're trying to do.
Between the house? The
houses? What? Is that what you're doing? The community gardens between the houses you were telling me about?
Yes. I want to have a fence where people are separated by a fence and they don't even know their names, their kids' names. I want to hang a garden on that fence, and they both eat from it, and they finally learn out who your neighbor is, and then you have a community that grows. And that was my idea, that if the book makes money, I can put greenhouses in every community. And this is worldwide. It can happen. I mean, once the thought out that you're going to have to produce your own food, and you can do it year round, and you can have it, you can do a lot of it in the greenhouse. I've got pictures of how people farm over in the countries. They don't have anything. And they have a little more, they take their stuff out there to the market. And that's what we can do.
So why does everything work against the people?
Well, everything has to be fiction. All the statutes are fiction. Everything that's a law in this country benefits the government. That's why it's against us. It's fraud. And at one point, I bought one of their packages to make use of the fact that I am a sovereign person and I don't want to have anything to do with their laws. And so that people don't come up and make this out in the open, they made a package. And that package, in it, it says, if there is any fraud in a government over the people, they have the right to walk away. And if there is fraudulent intent, that intent is for the government to benefit from that law. And that's what we've got. Now, I put in the book 50 or more of their laws. They're most important, even abortion. Every law, the one on the taxes, all of these laws, I explain to them how it benefits them. And so what I want people to do is, when they see all this, they use their spiritual gift called discernment. It's located in the heart with your conscience. With discernment, you can look and see what people are doing, and you can tell whether they're always doing the same thing good or all doing something that's bad. Right. And when they start seeing all of this, it's called discerning. You don't have to go to court. The people can understand that they're being taken advantage of. They can tell that this is not a globe, it's a flat earth, and that the Navy measured the distance to the dome, and it got into the Encyclopedia Britannica. And as soon as NASA found out, they took all the Britannica that year out of service, and they went to all the libraries and took those books out. So we wouldn't know that there's a dome. You've got a church that is not synchronicity. It says we're a globe, and it says in the Bible, it says we're a flat earth, because everything has to be fiction. When you go into a court, you can't take truth in with you. The only way you can get truth into your case is to go through a Secretary of Treasury And therefore, they know what truths they got to get ready to defend themselves against. They cannot defend themselves against any truth they're not ready.
Right, right.
That's the problem with them. Truth cannot be in here. And they tell people, don't give out legal advice. That's truth. Everything that's truth is legal advice.
So why are logical answers to problems censored then?
Because logic brings in truth. And logic requires synchronicity.
Fair enough.
So that's what I'm trying to bring out. The synchronicity is what you seek. And I asked the people in the church when I left the church, I said, is the Holy Spirit ever going to guide you astray? Oh, no. I said, then why do you believe in the globe? Then they don't want to talk about it anymore. There's nobody in any church, any corporation, any college, anything's a corporation. Everything is a corporation. Every church is a corporation. They all have charters. The United States has a charter in Puerto Rico. Yeah. They cannot let truth out. That's it. So we don't know anything. Everything that we know is a lie. And it's hard to tell someone that. So the book shows it to you.
Say that again.
Okay.
Everything we know is a lie. It's hard enough for people to accept what the hell is where they are today and what's going on. Never mind this. Why do the aliens come? That's going to really tip a few over. Well, what are your thoughts on that?
We've got
one source, one force, right? That's God.
Oh, wait, you asked me a question. You asked me the aliens.
I got one in, yeah.
Those are people that don't live on Earth. Look, there's nobody from Earth. We come to this Earth as spirits. It's a school to learn how to raise in your frequency so that you can learn how to love. This whole galactic thing is trying to get rid of the matrix, but they cannot do it because the matrix, those 13 families, they incarnated themselves. They have free will. The spirit world cannot go against free will. It's up to us to do it. We've got to do it ourselves, but we've got to have free will. And we don't even know our identity, let alone our powers. So those people have been coming to Earth in their flying saucers all along. I have in my book interview with
this will be good.
It's one of the presidents. I just had it on the tip of my tongue. His great granddaughter was here to let people know that they were communicating with the presidents. They're working with us, but our latest presidents are trying to tell us that they're here to kill us. That's fear. That's the fear factor. They're here to help. And so whenever we learn our lessons here on Earth, in this school, we go back to being a spirit. And we can come back as an angel. We can come back as what we want to. We can come back as a dog, an animal, a tree. Everything is all together with a soul. Everything has a soul, and we're all together. And our biggest problem is they separated us from everything, even from ourselves. And that's what causes the competition and the fear amongst ourselves.
In the minute that we've got left, I want to talk about the book's cover. It's a serene vision, isn't it, of nature's rebirth? Nice waterfalls, something like a new earth, light emerging from the ruins. Perfectly, it symbolizes its central message. From the ruins of disorder, a high order of justice and clarity. In closing, what's the biggest thing you're worried about? That you want? What's the biggest takeaway that you want people to get from this book?
Well, I want them to understand that there are 37 verses in the Bible. I'm going to read one or two of them here. First Kings.
We've only got a few seconds left, buddy. Keep in mind.
Okay. First Kings 8:38. Wisdom 17:11. Golly. Sirach 14:2. Daniel 13:56. Acts 20:26. Acts 23, there are 37 of those, and I was wanting to read you the oath that the Jesuits took, that they were going to flay our children, rip out the wombs of the mothers, so that they would not allow anything for us to survive. Okay, there, man, it's a scary vow, but it's out, and I didn't have a chance to read it. But that's
well,
okay.
how long is it? By all means, allow me. How long will it take
It's
you?
about 4 minutes or so. It's very important for people to understand.
All right, let's
Get this
do
off.
that then, because let's get your point across. It's important to you.
Yes, it is. If
Okay,
I
so
can
shoot, Charles.
scroll this thing back to it.
Then we'll have to
Here it
wrap
is.
up.
Here it is. You state their name. In the presence of Almighty God and of you, my ghostly father, the superior general of the Society of Jesus, founded by St. Ignatius of Loyola, do by the womb of the Virgin, by the matrix of God and the rod of Jesus Christ, declare and swear that His Holiness the Pope is Christ's vicar, regent, and is the true and only head of the capital of the Catholic or Universal Church throughout the earth. Therefore, to the utmost of my power, I shall and will defend this doctrine and His Holiness, right and custom against all usurpers of the heretical or Protestant authority and all adherents in the regard that they be usurped and heretical, opposing the sacred mother of Rome. I do further promise and declare, notwithstanding, I am dispensed with to assume any religion heretical for the propagation of the mother's church interest. I do further promise and declare that I will have no opinion or will of my own or any mental reservation whatever, even as a corpse, but will unhesitantly obey each and every command that I may receive from my superiors in the militia of the Pope and of Jesus Christ. I furthermore promise and declare that I will wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against the heretics, Protestants, and liberals, to extirpate and exterminate them from the face of the whole earth, and that I will hang, burn, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive those infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls in order to annihilate forever their execrable race. That's their oath. That's your church.
Heavens above.
I had people that I went to church with say, oh, but there are good Jesuits. Well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
They got kicked out of every country they ever went into for taking over governments. We kicked them out here, but then another president brings them back in. So they're here. They're in every corporation, every city hall meeting, everything. They make sure that fluoride stays in our water, in the water supply, so that our brain and our heart don't mix. They don't through the pineal gland. The pineal gland is calcified. A man, his heart doesn't rule. The woman's heart rules. The man's mind rules. That's why they have man in the law system. The women would run this a whole lot nicer. And so that's why we're patriarchal. The animal kingdom, everything is matriarchal. The woman rules the roost. The man is the helper. It's completely different here because they want it to be run the way they want it run.
I tell you what, profound, Charles, reflective, ultimately redemptive. I mean, the work serves as both a warning and a guidepost for those seeking wisdom in a fractured world. It'll be out soon. Believe what you want to believe. There are some that'll absolutely jump on this. There are others will say, my God, there is no way known. It's up to you. But he goes a lot more in depth in the book than we've got time for here. So, Charles, I wish you well. I hope it sells 1 million because You want to use all those funds to be able to feed people, and that's a great thing.
There's one more thing. The people who produced the videos that I put in the book, they're the ones that whenever you watch the videos, you should go and look at their other videos, because that's who's come up with all this, not me. I did not invent all this. I just brought it together so people could see it all at the same time. And I think that's what was necessary.
Very good. Charles, very interesting, very, very deep. And I appreciate you coming on the show. Stick around if you would. Don't go anywhere. I want to make sure it downloads properly at your end, okay, from the cloud. Okay. So just stay around for 60 seconds and that'll be the end of it. But thanks a lot for being on the show. I wish you well. Now, when it does come out, it's going to be available Amazon, no doubt, right? When the book does come out.
Well, I'm not sure. I don't go along with taking part in the government I'm trying to get rid of. Mm-hmm. And they have what they call algorithms.
Okay. If it's
I may expect that it'll sell.
Yeah, but it's got to be seen. It's got to be seen to be sold, right? So Amazon's one of your biggest. TikTok's probably your second.
I imagine that would be it.
Yeah, you need to do something. I wish you well with that. Listen, stick around, don't leave, and thanks for being on the show, okay? I appreciate that. And, he can be contactable. In fact, if you want to talk to the guy, look, there's his number, okay? I hope you got something out of this show for you. That's what it's about. 409-444-7076. He can call and give you points of view, tell him what you think. He'd love to hear that. Please follow the show. Subscribe if you would. The more we can get, the more authors we can help. Dedicated to authors. We love to discover your book and promote your book and also sell your book, to help you sell your book, okay? So if you have a friend who's writing or needs to write and can't write, well, I can do that for you too. So give us an email, mark at nlgb.info, mark at nothinglikeagoodbook.info. Thanks for being on the show. I appreciate it. 102nd episode. We've got a long way to go compared to some other podcasts that I do host. They're up there in way up in the hundreds, but I enjoy this show and we've got a long way to go with it. And there's a lot of good stuff that's going to happen with it. So stick around. I appreciate you following it. And I always say, I like to say, be kind to each other and look after each other.